elite scorers and as guys that are going to hold value year over year.
But if I imagine if you have somehow 3 of these cornerstone players, you should be full on go try to win a championship. And then
if you've got one or fewer of them, it probably means you should be thinking about reloading this year.
when you say multi-season difference maker, what are you looking for? What are some of your criteria?
My criteria for what makes someone a multi-season difference maker is pretty simple. They would be expected to go in the first 2 rounds of your redraft league this year. And then again, like if you had to do a redraft league right now for the 2027 season, you'd still pick these guys in the first 2 rounds.
Looks like who are some of these guys in your mind? Most of these should be pretty obvious, I would imagine. We can go down, quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, tight ends, but I think there may be a couple that either we disagree on or we think maybe are on the twilight era of their cornerstone designation here. So let's start with quarterbacks here. Clearly, Josh Allen, even though he's 30? But
Yep.
Josh Allen.
Quarterbacks tend to produce longer into their career than other positions. I mean, Dak has been putting up high-end quarterback numbers into his 33, 34-year-old season.
Right.
Baker Mayfield's in his 30s and, has that top 3 range of outcomes. So a guy like Allen that's been a top 3 guy for many years and is still only 30, absolutely still has it as a multiple-year potential top 3 guy.
Right. Who else you got?
I think the 2024 class has a couple of guys, Jaden Daniels and Drake May. Both look like they've got top 3 upside at the position and a lot of youth. And then I would have to put Lamar in there because of the 2 incredible finishes that he's had. I know he's up and down, and he's probably one of the ones we'll talk about that might be aging out of this category soon. But for now, today, you can't argue to me that the guy that can do 4,000, 1,000 isn't still in that conversation for at least the next couple of years.
I mean, hey, I hope he is. I have him. So I would love that. To me, he's the one guy who I agree. Today, 2026, I would leave him in. I could see him though in 2027. Maybe it's a conversation of like, especially if he puts up another down year. I know he was battling injury this year, among other things, but his age worries me more just based off of his elusiveness and the kind of quarterback he is compared to some of these other guys. So, didn't make the cut. Joe Burrow, Caleb Williams. What are your thoughts there?
I think these guys, Joe Burrow has shown that he can finish as a top 3 quarterback, and Caleb has clearly a lot of talent, a great offensive coordinator, and a lot of talent around him. I think the way that these guys play the position makes it hard to get there. When you've got a guy like Allen who's just locked in as a top 3 guy, you've still got the Mahomeses of the world that can get in there. You still got the Bakers and other gunslingers that occasionally sneak in there. And you've got guys like Jade and Lamar and Hurts that run as well. It's hard to see a path where these guys are consistently finishing top 3 at their position. But look, it's sort of an arbitrary cutoff. These things aren't hard lines, and Burrow and Caleb would be the 2 guys that I have just missing the cut, but are still really elite fantasy assets.
Yep. All right, let's talk running backs. To me, the running back one is almost the easiest or most defined category. We've got Gibbs, Bijan, Genty, who are all super young, super dynamic. It seems pretty easy. I know you have the opinion that you may throw Love into this category already, even though we've never seen him take a snap. Tell me about that.
I think aside from Bijan and Saquon, he's the best running back prospect I've seen since like Adrian Peterson. You know, like I think he's the third best since
Yeah.
Adrian Peterson that I've
Wow.
seen.
Okay.
I don't see a scenario where he fails in the NFL, and I'll explain why. He's super fast, he's super elusive, and he can catch the ball, and he's big enough to take hits. So I think he's going to get top 10 draft capital, maybe even top 5 draft capital. And even if he goes to a terrible team like the Titans or the Cardinals or something like that,
Mm.
he'll be fine. Um, and because he's got that much pedigree, you could trade him straight up for one of the other guys in this tier. You
Mm.
could trade him for Jaden Daniels. You could trade him for Ashton Genty. You could
Mm.
trade him for some of the receivers we're going to talk about next, like Amon-Ra or CD. And if
Mm.
you're a guy that has that much value, I think you belong in this
Yeah.
category.
Okay. Guys who we think didn't make that cornerstone cut, Achan. Even though he's been a dynamic runner the last handful of years, Miami's situation is very, very bad right now.
Yeah, it's a
And
Miami take, not an HN take for us.
yeah, yeah. Other guy, Hampton. I think Hampton could be right up in this list if he has a fully proven year. His injury history is a little concerning. But he's a young, dynamic runner, and I think he's in a really good situation with the Chargers.
Yeah, we talked about those guys that if you've only got one cornerstone on your team right now and you're looking to build value,
Mhm.
Hampton for me is like the prime running back target of he is going to hold value and he's very likely this time next year to be sitting there with the rest of the guys in the
Yep,
cornerstone tier.
yep. All right, receivers. To me, this is the area where it starts to really get dicey. I mean, you have your clear cuts, Jamar Chase, Malik Neighbors, JSN, um, and Puka,
Yep.
as long as yeah. But then you
As long
got
as
some guys,
Stafford's there. Yeah.
as long as Stafford's there. Then you start
Yeah.
to get some guys like CD you mentioned a minute ago.
Yep.
See, today, absolutely, CD Lamb, top wide receiver. 3 years from now, I mean, I think he's closer to that cutoff than any of the running backs are. So CD
Sure.
Jefferson, I mean Jefferson, dynamic, awesome wide receiver, has an interesting situation right now in the with the Vikings. So I just think there's a couple of these guys. The receivers to me are a little more in the situation of getting older compared
Yep.
to where these running backs are that are all very young.
Yeah. So Amon-Ra St. Brown, CD, and Justin Jefferson are all 26
Yeah.
this year. Um, I don't think there's any reason to believe that a wide receiver that's 26 can't still do it at 27 and 28.
Hmm.
So for me, that's why they're all still in the cornerstone tier.
Yep.
Um, you will, though, start to see their fantasy value leak a little bit every year, unless they do something special. If one of them wins the Triple Crown, they'll probably stay right where they are. But if
Hmm.
CD has another season where he gets 16 points per game
Yep.
instead of 20, then he's going to slide down from the 1-2 turn to the 2-3 turn in next year's startup cycle.
Yep.
But for me, that still doesn't mean he's not a cornerstone, because even then, at that same time next year, I will probably still say he has top 3 upside at the position.
Hmm.
And I think this might be a place where you can start to, you know, sneak into the people that are too concerned about somebody needing to start on their team for the next 10 years.
Mm.
If somebody's going to let go of CD or Amon-Ra or Jefferson because they're 26,
Right. Beautiful.
sure, if you're rebuilding and you can't use them for 2 seasons,
Hmm.
okay, don't make that move. But if you're contending, man, you know, it's like owning AJ Brown or Nico Collins or something right now at their late third round price or late fifth round price or whatever you're getting them for.
Hmm.
They've still got that upside.
Guys who in this category who we didn't consider a cornerstone, London, Tet, Nico.
Yep. So I kind of made the case for the upside on Nico, in that I think he is one of the only guys outside of those 7 cornerstones that we will see having the elite upside. I don't think you're going to see many other guys besides Chase, Puka, JSN, Amon-Ra, CD, Neighbors, and Jettis going in the first 2 rounds or whatever of your redraft leagues. I think Nico's probably the only other one. Um, Talk to me, though, about London and Tat, because these guys are on the other side of the age spectrum.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, honestly, it's one of those things where I don't want to include the entire arsenal as a cornerstone yet, because is London the same category as Jamar Chase yet? My mind, no. I think next year, I think if London and Tet both put up very quality seasons this upcoming year, then, we do this video again in 2027. I could see them both being up in a cornerstone category. But Tet's going into his sophomore year, still with the Panthers, even though they're on the up. London had a good year last year, but the Falcons quarterback situation's up in the air, and I want to see if he can replicate.
Yeah, for me, it's not a talent thing with London or Tat. It's a situation thing.
Yeah.
If this, I'll tell you something super crazy here. If the Vikings were just rolling with 9, I wouldn't have Jefferson in the cornerstones
Yeah.
either, simply because clearly no one on that offense could succeed. Now, I think Bryce Young could succeed at Carolina and Tech could come up. That's why we've got him as a breakout. I think it's possible that Tua comes in. He's supported, Tyreek Hill in 2023, and, Pitts and London explode. But I don't see any way that I'm taking them over the guys in the cornerstone tier.
Right. Yep. Yep. And
Tight
then
end's the shortest category, right? Give me
yeah,
the 2 obvious names.
Bowers, McBride, and then the
Yep.
one for me who's almost there but needs to really prove it's Loveland. I think Loveland has major breakout potential, and you kind of saw it coming on at the tail end of last year. But
Yep.
I gotta see him go actually do it for a season before he's in the same category as Bowers and McBride.
Yeah, I think it's likely, especially if Caleb Williams does ascend to that cornerstone category,
But he'll bring
someone from
Loveland
that
with
Chicago offense has to come with him, whether it's Burden or Rome or Loveland, maybe even 2 of them.
Yes. Yep.
Pretty much, if you've got 1 or fewer of them, it probably means you should be thinking about reloading this year
Mm,
and trying to collect guys who could turn in to these superstar players, because you probably just otherwise won't have the scoring that you need to compete, or to pay for the scoring you need to compete. You're going to deplete everything.
right. And when you say, go compete for a possible superstar player, are those guys who are going in like the third and fourth round, or are those guys who are just, younger? Like, how do you go in and analyze who you think could be a superstar player?
Well, we talked about breakout wide receivers in a previous video. We can talk about, maybe breakout running backs or something in an upcoming video. But a lot of times, younger players have superstardom in their range of outcomes. But if they
Mhm.
haven't done it yet, you can still buy them at a discount. With the risk, of course, being that they may never get there.
Right. So talked about the one or fewer rebuild. Would you say then if odds are you're not going to have any more than three, but if I imagine if you have somehow three of these cornerstone players, you should be full on go try to win a championship. And then that kind of middle production of two, you could still do it. We're not saying you can't, but what about the teams that are looking and you're saying, I've got two guys who are cornerstone capable, winning a chip, but hmm, what do you say for those teams?
If you've got 2, these are what I'd call the tweener teams. And my goal would be to see if they're hitting that threshold or not. Is
Mhm,
CD Lamb having his 2023 season
mhm.
where he's scoring 24 points a game? Or is he having his 2024 season where Dak's injured and he's putting up 15, 16 points a game?
Right.
Because if it's the former, go for it. Buy
Yeah.
your Saquon Barkley or Christian McCaffrey or Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, whatever, and try to win a chip. If it's the latter, okay, he's still a valuable asset. That doesn't mean I have to panic sell him, but it
Mm-hmm.
means that I'm going to move off my Cortland Suttons and my Michael Pittmans and stuff like that
Yep.
in season.
All right. Well, that's all the wisdom we'll leave you with here today.
Yep.
And as always, thank you for tuning in.
See you next time, guys.
See ya.